If you feel like you are losing your grip, might suffer a trip or abandon ship, open a can of whatever you sip and join the fellowship.
Welcome to Can You Hear Me Now, the first of 2026 and the last in this format. We've really enjoyed the last 50-odd shows. I think this is show number 54. And we've been tweaking and playing with the format of the podcast. And I think that we've worked out what bits really work, what bits don't work as well. And I think in a more general sense, what is missing from the channel? What makes this YouTube, what has made this YouTube channel successful and popular? And we've realized that we've stopped doing a few bits. So the podcast is going to be shift, and I probably might drop the term podcast to, we're going to remain as a live weekly thing where people can drop in and ask questions and join the conversation. But we're also going to make it, slightly ambitious this, we're going to make it into more of a workshop format where I'll be looking at new tech, old tech, talking about modular, talking about different approaches to music making, sampling, to really be the hub of what Crow Hill is about. So I'll be talking a little bit about that today. Alongside, I've got a few questions for you. If you want to join us, there's a Google link in the video description down below, and anyone's welcome to join. Come on board, and we'll have a chat, and we'll be here till 7:30 UK time. Just reflecting on 2025, if you can humour me for a few minutes just to talk about some stuff. I try not to talk too much about Crow Hill as a business on this podcast. And I realised that really what I wanted to set up when we set up Crow Hill 2 years ago wasn't thinking of it as a business. And naturally, we've got to find ways of washing our face and stuff like that. And I'll return to that in a sec. But really, if there's anything that I've taken out of this year, which has not been easy, is a newfound kind of spark of ambition that really totally matches that of what I set out to do with Crow Hill when we set it up. And I think quite early on, because of all sorts of pressures, was sidelined a bit. It instantly became a sample company. It instantly became commercial. The YouTube channel went from a channel that just talked about the joy of making music and a vlog. It turned into this kind of commercial channel. And we've spent this year trying to backpedal to that initial idea. And I think that, if anything, throughout this year has taught me is that I'm really confident and want to stick by my guns with that initial idea. Why has it been a difficult year? Well, it's been a difficult year because it's been a lot of soul searching for us. We've not been able to do all of the things that we wanted to do because we did have to kind of go back in time a bit. We had to redesign the website from scratch. We had to redesign all of our GUIs so they were more representative and homogenous with the kind of brand. And I guess if you want a description of the brand, it'll be this place. Yeah, this is for me the dream. Technology and workshoppy, crafty stuff. So what we are going to be doing is a slightly more regimented regime for the YouTube channel. So I'll start with that. Basically, Wednesdays, Fridays and Sundays we'll be doing stuff on the YouTube channel. On Wednesdays, we'll be doing our weekly live workshop. We'll be having a lot more guests coming on board, whether it be IRL or via Zoom. I know a lot of you have really valued the contributions that people like Philip Shepherd have brought, Andy Gray, my friend Pascal. So a lot more people coming to kind of join us and hopefully taking part in the workshop process. So that's Wednesday. It's going to be the live workshop. Then on Fridays, I'm really happy with the way that our long form content is going. And for that, I'm particularly proud of our Adventures in Sound series, which is when we go elsewhere to see how people are doing their things, and also the origins, which is just going back to basics to understand whatever step you're at with your kind of journey with music, just understanding where the technology and the theory comes from, which we're really enjoying. Then on Sundays, and this Sunday will be the first one, I mistakenly put last Sunday, but it's this Sunday, is going to be the return of the vlog, because I think we've got a really exciting year ahead for a couple of reasons. One of which is we've got a massive backlog of sample libraries that we're making and vaults that we're bringing out. And unlike a lot of technology companies, whether it be computer games or even, you know, like TV production companies that are streamers, instead of having a closed door about what we're up to, I'm going to open that door up, and you will see the progress of research, iterative improvements, and process that we put into making sample libraries. I think that what I'm going to do is, alongside kind of promoting what I do and what I have done as a composer, and taking that knowledge and sharing that, what I'm really also going to embrace is that I've now been sampling since I was 16 years old. I'm just turned 54, and I think I want to really take pride in showing you how we go about doing that, because I think there's something, I don't know, inherently wonderful about making your own sounds. It's a quick fire way to creating something that is authentic and unique to you. So that's something that we'll be doing in the vlogs, alongside, cross fingers, we've not signed on the dotted line, but we're opening a new HQ, which it won't happen overnight. But what I'm hoping to do is to create the first sonic workshop, a place where people can come for seminars, for workshops, where we can create content of all different sorts and really support talent in the UK, beyond, but particularly in the central belt of Scotland. And for those of you who don't know the geography of Scotland, there's the borders, and then there's the central belt, and there's the Highlands. The central belt is pretty much where all the cities are, Glasgow, Edinburgh, and we're all kind of clumped together. So there's a massive amount of talent available. And I think there's some really interesting stuff happening in the business. There's a massive new film studio opening in Marlow. So I think there's going to be a spirit of promoting the craftsmanship, musicianship, and technical prowess that is available to the globe based in this country. So that's what I'm really, really hoping to achieve with this new site, which is basically round the other side of Crow Hill. And I really look forward to not only welcoming in you when we've done, but showing you the process, the ups and downs, the disasters, the leaky roofs. I say that because I know there's a leaky roof already. Sharing that process with you. So Sundays will be a weekly vlog, behind the scenes, of doing sessions, of building these things. But also, I really want you to get to know the team, because that is where I am certain we got things right, is to get together a team of really fantastically talented people who are all pulling in the same direction. So that's basically the regime that I'm putting into place here at Crow Hill. Wednesdays for the live workshops, Fridays for our long form, Sundays for a vlog. Be interested to see what you think about that. And as always, the Extras channel is where you'll be able to get this podcast in its edited format that then goes out on all of the different podcast delivery things like Apple Podcasts. And I always nearly say the S word, but I don't want to promote them at all, so I won't. So that's what we're up to in 2026. And really what it is about, I know I'm talking around in circles, but I've got really low this year with this whole AI thing, because everyone is painting this picture of the apocalypse. And I really don't think that is going to happen. I think there are definitely certain fields of what we do that will be totally eradicated. I think there are certain clerical jobs in various different industries which are going to be very much under threat. However, I think that it could possibly spell a renaissance in what it is to make music, which is to get together with people and to collaborate on something that is truly magical. And when thinking about the specifics of AI, I often return to this in interviews that I do for new jobs and stuff as a composer. And the thing I often say is talking about music's like dancing about architecture, which is quoting Frank Zappa. And I think it's really interesting that this thing called music that many people suspect actually predates language, and it bypasses the need for language. It enables you to empathize and feel in a way that is so much more immediate than language. The idea that a language model will therefore surpass the thing that is making music, I think, is a ridiculous one. And again, to quote someone else, it's like just breeding thoroughbred horses together to make them faster and faster and faster in the hope that one day they'll grow into a locomotive train. That, of course, is a ridiculous concept. And whilst there will be music that is made by AI and it will be used as a tool, I believe that it may usher in a new, very exciting period. And I think that we have the power to decide as users and consumers. And you know, talking about consumers, it makes a kind of a material thing out of music, like it is some kind of industry. That's something that's sprung up from the side. Making music is just a basic human prerogative that we're born with. And I think that we in Crowhill, with this following, with this channel, we have the ability to actually really shine a light on why music is important, not just to enjoy, but also to make. How it is the healthiest of possible escapes, how it helps brain functioning in young people with developing brains, it aids empathy, and yeah, as I say, I think the most important thing for me is this. Stephen Merchant in a podcast recently said that he regrets not learning music as an instrument because he sees in people who make music the ability to establish this kind of flow state where you are not thinking linguistically, where you are purely attached to the here and now and your emotions. And I think that for those of us who have made music and have that ability to kind of hyper focus on it, that wonderful thing that happens where suddenly you go, oh, I need a shit, or I need something to eat. And you realize that you've just been in this flow state of making music for 4-6 hours where time has no place and disappears. So that for me is a responsibility I want that this team to undertake as Crowhill, as a beacon of promoting the activity of making music, regardless of where you're from or what your means are. So cards on the table, that's what we're up to this year. How do we finance that? Well, we try and make tools that we feel some of you will use. And if you feel you can afford it and you're interested in it, be safe in the knowledge that this stuff doesn't just line our pockets. It's really, at the moment, I mean, I haven't taken a single penny out of Crowhill for myself in 2 years. For me, it's about putting that back into what I think is going to be, hopefully, a successful and worthwhile enterprise. So that's how we do it. So if you see a sample library you think you'd like the look of and you can afford, grab it. If not, there are some other stuff you can do to support us. Subscribing to this YouTube channel really helps us reach a wider audience. The more people we reach, the more people can, the more kind of 1% of that audience can maybe buy a cello library for 30 quid once a year or whatever it is. So that's really helpful to us. But also joining the mailing list. We will spam you from time to time to let you know of a new product, but it also will let you know where all the fun is at. Sorry, I'm waffling on a little bit today. I'll come to a close in a minute. So we've talked about the podcast format, the YouTube format. We're going to have this new open door policy on at the sample libraries we're making. You'll see on the homepage on thecrowhillcompany.com, there's a thing called Symphony, which might involve these things, finally getting these things to earn their way. And a lot of other stuff. You may have seen a smiley face. It may be pointing to something that's coming up, which I can't wait to share with you. And we've got some amazing collaborations with some of the real trailblazers of sound, alongside, as I mentioned before, these adventures in sound where we go and visit people, see what they're up to and where they're doing their stuff and how they're doing it. So that's pretty much it. Other than that, thought we'd just have a chinwag today. And I think I may have mentioned competitions and stuff. We're without a moderator today, so we probably won't be able to run competitions, but there are going to be challenges coming up. There are going to be opportunities to win prizes. So don't log off straight away if that's what you were hoping for. Apologies for that. But also, NAMM is coming last week in January in LA/Anaheim. I was wondering if you fancied a walk and some breakfast. Keep an eye on our social media. We haven't got an Eventbrite up yet, but that'll be going up over the weekend for you to RSVP to. I don't have any details of where that'll be. I'll suggest a date and a time. Maybe you can put in the comments below or whatever when would be good for you if you want to come for a short walk and a bit of breakfast, maybe before heading off to Anaheim to the absolute maelstrom that is that place of dyed hair, Cuban heels, and lots of people twiddling stuff and playing stuff simultaneously over 4 football pitches. So yeah, let us know about that, but keep an eye on social media. Another reason to join the mailing list if you haven't done, and to subscribe to this channel. So Alan, a stalwart by all means, our producer is here, having recovered from Christmas. You had a mellow one, didn't you?
Very mellow one. Very chill Christmas, and I slept through the bells. So we talked about this a bit earlier. For the last, I think, 15 years, I've gigged on Hogmanay. For all you non-Scots, that's New Year's Eve. Going into,
and the bells are
midnight.
Yeah.
So that is midnight into New Year's Day, and I think I've gigged on that for about 15 years. Because I knew that we were doing the podcast today, I just decided to take last night off. I went to bed. I read a really good book. I'm reading a book. I'm reading Leonard Bernstein's biography just now, which is fantastic. And then just slept through it. And I think I showed you earlier, my sleep data was I had about 10 hours of sleep last night, which I feel amazing. Like literally, I feel absolutely fantastic. So yeah, that's been my kind of festive period. Very much relaxed, very much chilled. Recovering for what I think is going to be an amazing 2026.
Yeah, I do think that we're at a turning point for everyone, and I think that everyone is realizing that everyone has the power to change things. I'm going to come back to you, Alan, with New Year's resolutions, and also, I'd love to know about your resolutions. And did you make any last year? Did your hopes, wishes, promises, did they come true? Did you make them happen? But also, what you're looking forward to in 2026, which is fairly standard kind of hangover show fare. But I've got a little wrinkle in that, just something for you to think about as the question of the week, which is, have you heard a saying this year that you really would like to live by, or have tried to live by, but have maybe just changed the way that you observe a particular thing, big or small? So my New Year's resolution, just to share, is, and again, we have the power here, and I can see it in the younger generation, is I'm just going to come off social media. I will use it as a form of communication, which it's very interesting to see how Instagram has pivoted. It understands that it's now predominantly a messaging app, but I don't see any benefits. X is just horrific. And I don't know if that's just my algorithm, but it doesn't relate to anything that I'm interested in. And the Instagram algorithm, it knows me too well. And I just spend my life going, "Oh, what's that?" It's a box. It's an antique box that someone's found on a skip and they're now trying to sell me for 15 quid. So that's my New Year's resolution. And let's invite people on. And as they're joining, I can answer them the question directly, just in case they haven't been watching on the interweb.
I'll give a little bit of a preface to that, Christian. I've not heard that really annoying ding for a while.
Okay.
So I might have to restart the Google Meet, but we'll see how it goes.
Let's have a little listen. So what we can maybe do is ask one of them to do a sound check. Okay. I don't think we're hearing you. Hello all. Listen, we need to do a sound check because we think we haven't got the sound from the Google Meet again this week. There's something that Google Meets do if you leave it on for a while. Jay, could you just say hello to us and could we see? No. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to restart the Google Meet and I'll carry on waffling into this camera. We'll be back with you in a few seconds. And then hopefully the sound will be back. So I've got a couple of sayings that I've heard this year, and one of which was from our Queen. That sounded more positive. Yeah. Where is everybody? Okay. So admit.
If you just put the call out for everybody to rejoin.
So could everyone just rejoin the Google Meet and we'll iron this out for future episodes. There's some people coming in there, which is great. Jay, are you there?
So I think this might be Jay and not us.
Okay. Can we try you, Adam?
No.
Yes, we've got Adam. So Jay, you fix your microphone.
So
Adam.
Like, just to kind of like shift blame, I think we were fine the first time. I think it's all Jay's fault.
It's all Jay's fault. There we go. Start the new year as you mean to go on. That's what I say. So, okay. Yeah. So the question to you guys, other than New Year's resolutions and what you're looking forward to in the new year, is have you heard one of those juicy sayings that you think, I want to live by that, or I want to change the way I do my washing, or how I organise my time? I heard a great one from our Queen, that being Taylor Swift. And she said, oh, Jay, don't laugh so much. Yeah, Taylor Swift, I think, just said something that was absolutely genius. And it may be from someone else, which is many people will be jealous of what you've got, but none of them will be jealous of what you did to get it, which I think is a really good one. And the other one was from someone who's becoming a kind of a bit of a philosopher in my mind, is, what's the name of that comedian he's got a wide face and he's Irish and he's lost a lot of weight over the last 5 years and he's really dirty comedian. Oh, what's his name? Come on, guys, help me here. You can tap it in the, what's his name? The comedian, British, but of Irish descent. Anyway, Alan. No, it's not. No, I'll think of his name in a minute. But anyway, he came up with a great one. And he said, obliterate competition through authenticity, which I think is a really good one. And that's, I think, something that I think we'll be returning to this year at Crow Hill, is this idea that creating your own soundscapes and your own sonic worlds is a real fast track to something that is inherently authentic and therefore cannot be competed with. I appear to be losing my voice, which is a great cue for me to plead with someone to put their hand up to share a saying that they've heard this year and maybe some New Year's resolutions. And Jay, sorry, it wasn't all your fault, I'm sure.
Was it? Yeah, it was. Listen, it works better if you plug in the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. So, wait. I have my notebooks here because I did have something about New Year's resolutions. I did write in my. I do it every year. I actually did say disconnect from the nonsense and insanity of social media.
Yeah.
And oh, this all plugs in. I also wrote connect with myself, with my craft, and with my friends, and the film and game scene that I want to work with. And that is very interesting because there's, I don't know if it's a saying that I got, but I met this guy who's a re-recording mixer, sound designer. He's very big in the film industry. And when I was asking him about, like his process, he said the thing is, I don't think about it. And it's just, you just have to know your thing so well that when you sit down to work, it's on instinct. And I think that's the thing that I've been trying to live by. Just like know the thing so well that when you sit, it's just like you wouldn't even be able to explain what you do because you don't even know. You just sit and you do it.
Yeah. So
and that's a big one for me last year, and I think it's gonna bring on to this year.
I think someone who is a bit of a kind of saint in our world is Rick Beato. I mean, I think the work that he's doing on YouTube it's so exempt from terrestrial TV and from other sources, but gathering these first person accounts of making these classic records and stuff, it's just absolutely brilliant. But if I'm building a consensus in my own mind where something I know not all of us find that easy where engineering is concerned, is that the greats say mix quickly, mix very, very quickly. Don't think about it too much. But it's funny you should bring that up, Joe, and I think I may have mentioned it in the last podcast. But I've decided not to use Cubase. I've given up on that goal, but I really had enough with Logic. So I'm currently working on a TV series, and I'm writing it in Reaper. And I think that something that I am noticing is I'm having to think about stuff a lot more in a way that I don't think is necessarily too musical. So currently, what I'm doing is I'm laying a lot of stuff down live on piano, and then I'm figuring shit out whilst I'm trying to do the craft aspect of what I'm doing. We've got someone with their hand up, Sam Downey.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. I haven't called in to the show for
welcome
a long time, and I've met you, Christian, years ago. So. Briefly, who am I? I'm a musician and mix engineer who lives in Bristol in England. I'm neurodiverse. I have autism, and I and also more recently started to join other groups like other music producers. So been to a lot of the amazing studios. But and on I joined an organisation called the Music Producers Guild in the UK, which are really fantastic. And they asked me to write a profile. So there's a profile about me on their website, on their member spotlight, in which I talk about various things. So there's things, Christian, which you've talked about in the past. So I'm also a Logic user as well, and have been for quite a long time. And I've also contributed to Logic and how it works. So things around. I've spoken to lots of the engineers behind it. I've asked them to make it kind of easier for people to understand and use, to make it to allow people to report all the things that we have problems with, and so we can report bugs and things like that. Because Logic is used within the industry. Yes, I know lots of people use Pro Tools as well as and Reaper as well, but it's kind of like when you go and watch a movie or watch TV. A TV show, listen to the soundtrack, you never think about what DAW you use or what has been used. So so on that sort of basis, it's kind of quite really interesting to just to say, actually, here's a thing that you're using, and to go actually. So for me, for this year, I'm going to write some, continue to write more music, work with lots of other people, collaborate with people. My background is also in podcasting, so I'll give you a kind of a little kind of exclusive thing. So I rarely talk about this. So in 2000, I interned at Apple Computers in California, and I was there for a couple of years. And my job was to join the iPod team at the time. So this is before it got released in 2003.
Wow. Which is where the word podcast comes from.
Yes. So on that theme, I was asked to think about what could be done with a audio file that wasn't music. So there's only two things, which is what we're doing now, which is talking. So one of those things was how to create because lots of people at the time were doing readings and recordings of newspapers and books for people who were blind.
Yes.
So that became audiobooks. That's that side. But my job was to think about what else. So in a way, I came up with that idea of what a podcast is. So there you go.
It's your fault.
Yeah. So the way that I thought about doing it, so we already had iPod and brought the word broadcasting as so how it was developed. It came from the idea of talk radio.
Yeah.
So talk radio is known around the world, especially in America, on AM stations. So I had to think about all the licensing if music was used, because it's all copyrighted and protected and trademarked. Of course, music at the time could not be on anything that's recorded, and certainly onto a podcast. So if you move the audio, the music side, to a size, and then you're just left with a person's voice or an interview. So radio stations were recording just that aspect because every radio station still have to record their output for broadcasting licensing. So I thought, okay, since radio stations are doing that already, why don't we record that as an audio file, which is an MP3 file, record it at a bit rate. And the bit rate for it means that the audio file had to be really small to go onto the device, because remember at that time we didn't have broadband internet, we had 3G,
spinning, yeah.
so things like that. So things like I spoke to people. We developed the idea. We brought in RSS feeds, so we can collaborate. So you can build up a feed of when you're publishing an MP3 file, and then the idea grew, and then it got launched, and people started to use it.
It's been what an amazing story, Sam. Thank you for sharing that. It's a fascinating insight, and how it's become a totally new cultural exploit. Could be argued to be really challenging traditional media outlets. And I think that we've got a lot to be thankful for, and some stuff not to be thankful for. But what an amazing story! Thank you so much, Sam. And back to that subject of Logic, there are two reasons why I've been really keen to switch, and there's one main reason why I haven't gone with Cubase is the ability to download it for free. I make all of these videos about like string programming and all of that kind of stuff, and it just strikes me as an absurd contradiction in outlook for Crow Hill that we want to be more inclusive, that if you wanted to download the thing that I was working on, you'd have to own an Apple Mac. And I'm a massive Apple fan, use all their stuff, but that for me just strikes me as a bit stupid. But the other thing is that I just feel that, and it's going back to what Jay said, that really I'm not thinking about it, but what I'm doing is relying on muscle memory and techniques and let's face it, 2 plugins that I've been using for 20 odd years. And for me, it's just to find a slightly different way. I don't know, it's like Sting picking up the lute or something like that. Probably a bad example, but that's the reason for me going for Reaper. Also, Reaper for me just feels a little bit more like it's a modern piece of coding architecture, and I know because of the way it's set up as more open source, it just feels a little bit more up to date. And when I go back from Reaper to Logic, it's a little bit like when I go back from Figma to Adobe. It just feels a little bit like, I think we're finished with this. But, you know, I've met the guys at Logic and all of that kind of stuff. Kudos to what they've done there. But yeah, I'll let you know how I get along with Reaper, and maybe there'll be a few Reaper tutorials there. And would recommend people having a look at it because you can download it for free. And Les, can I invite you in? Because I see lots of thumbs up whenever I talk of Reaper. And I think I may have snorted when you have said in the past that you use Reaper. But what do you like about it?
Largely, I like the attitude to the company, the way it's been set up, the way it's available. If you do download it and you don't pay for it in 60 days, it doesn't stop working. It will still work, but it will hound you to please pay us some money. So it's not a barrier for someone who hasn't got the money. And I was very, very keen for someone like you to pick it up and start teaching people how to make samples from the very hitting the glass right through to just chopping the sample, doing it in Reaper, and let's have it produced in Decent Sampler. That's the kind of thing I've always liked the idea of, because it's such an affordable and inclusive way of doing things. Nobody could not afford to do it. And the fact that Reaper also runs on Linux and will run on things like Mint means you can run it on a PC you could buy for a tenner that somebody else threw out. That's, you know, all those things put together, it's such a inclusive package.
Yeah.
That's the main reason why. I think it's very well done. There's some great people doing tutorials, Denny Goyer, people like that. There's fabulous people doing tutorials on it, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with it.
Yeah, you'll go, oh my God, doesn't know what he's doing. But that's probably what all Logic users have been saying about the way I work with Logic up to now. But Les, I think that's a really key point. And I think one of the issues I have, and it's something I'm growing out of, I think I went through a real materialism phase and I'm growing out of that. He's just surrounded by hardware. But is that this idea that if something's free, it's shit. And it wasn't until I really started looking into it, I realized there are so many functions that Logic really, really should have. For me, it's only, up until now, I only thought DP, as in Digital Performer, had it, was this possibility of putting several cues in one file. Logic, you can't load more than one movie in. So you get these horrifically sized monolith files with all your different versioning and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, it's going to be a very interesting journey. I felt when I went to Cubase, it was like, this is kind of more of the same. And it's like learning something new just for the sake of learning something new. Reaper, it feels like it's a little bit more like new territory, which I'm really looking forward to experimenting with. But would recommend people just having a look at it and seeing what it's capable of. It looks really interesting to me. Noah, how are you? Happy New Year. And Happy New Year to you all, by the way.
I've been doing pretty good. Honestly, a rather calm New Year's this year. How have you been?
Yeah, good. I thought being sober, I was going to get a nice early night, but until my daughter said, Dad, you are going to watch Stranger Things with me when it comes on the telly at 1. And I didn't realize it was 2 hours long. I think that's why I'm losing my voice, because I just kept on shouting, what the fuck is going on? I haven't watched it since series 1, and it's like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's not do any spoilers on Stranger Things. I have to say, what I did do is I treated the family to a new TV for the first time in 10 years with surround speakers. And what's really lovely is I'm getting to hear more of what other composers are doing. And two real highlights for me this year have been, for me this Christmas rather, have been really hearing the intricacy of what those guys do that do the Stranger Things music. I think it's absolutely fabulous. And the second is Olga Fitzroy's work on Napoleon. That is a stunning mix that she did, music mix. And what I also really enjoyed is, because I could actually hear it, is one of the main featured instruments in Napoleon, by the score by Martin Phipps, is my charango. It's so weird to think of this moment, would have been 20 years ago, where I was in Soho with my brother, who's a bass player, under a duvet recording a charango. And having that moment where you go, this is life-changing, and it being the only time I've ever said that in my life where it set me on this whole sample journey. And to hear that being used all over Napoleon, that was a bit of an ego massage moment, which was a lot of fun. But Noah, do you have any things that you're looking forward to in 2026?
I have a few main things. One of them being my other sort of main thing I do is I coach runners, and I'm a half marathoner myself. I recently had a race on a very flat course, but I dehydrated myself, and it was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And so I am looking forward to getting back in running shape. But the other big goal is actually sort of, it kind of started listening to you talk, and this has been actually the first year I've worked with other musicians on a project of mine. And it is so game changing. I'm almost ashamed of my old self from not really branching out. But so Jay actually helped me on a project, and it's no joke to change how I write for bass parts in just one go, which is kind of mind-blowing to me, just how one other person can change how you look at things and how you do things. And so I've been working on a project I've loved and I've held on to for way too long, and that getting that out is sort of my big goal of this upcoming year.
That's just brilliant. It really lifts me to hear that people are making these connections. And yeah, I think that it's an interesting thing, music and music tech, because that's something I've noticed, is that the minute you get into a room with people, it's a great leveler, because there's always something you can learn off someone else, even if they've just been using something for a day. I'll never forget my first day working with, I am going to get a shit bell for my name drops, by the way, with Anne Dudley, who I basically was kind of in a paid apprenticeship with for 3 years, of Art of Noise fame, won an Oscar for Full Monty, did that amazing score for American History X, among many, many other things. And I never forget just getting on her computer and using Logic, and she went, "Oh, how did you do that?" And me going, "Oh my God, Anne Dudley is asking me how I did something." But that is actually, that's the norm. And I think that's what's so awesome, and why collaboration should so be encouraged. I think that, if I was to be honest about my own personality, I'm a real team player, provided I'm the manager, the striker, the goalkeeper, and the ref. And I think that there's a degree of letting go you have to do with musicians, and that idea that it might not be in your mind perfect. And then for me, that's one of the real big things of pulling away and not obsessing, not being too graphic designy about your approach to working with a DAW, because record something, you may feel terrible about how the session went, and jeepers, it's not quite the intonation's not quite right there, and always I find the bit that you think is going to sound fantastic with musicians is the shittest bit, and the bit that you thought was shit that you did is the best bit. But you just kind of leave it for a day and come back and have that view. You just go, oh my God, this is it's transcendent, isn't it, with live musicians? So yeah, thanks for your contribution, and that's a great example of why we should be approaching this. And I really do think AI is going to get musicians back into the rooms with each other, with composers, with engineers, microphones, all of that. I'm really looking forward to the kickback that is already happening. I read an article today about how producers are shitifying the work that they're doing, just so people know it's definitely not AI, because it's threatening people's jobs, and people who are suddenly producing demos that sound remarkably good compared to stuff that they've done in the past. And I'm not saying people shouldn't use AI, but I think there's going to be a reaction against it. Les, I'll come back to you in a sec, but let's go to Ellery. Ellery, how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Is it bloody freezing where you are? Because it's bloody freezing up here.
No, it's all right. Can I just check? I've got a new headset. Is it clear? Okay, cool.
It's rich,
cool.
chocolatey.
So I have like some news, right? I made a really terrifying decision to leave my office job. Only because I just figured I'm getting on, and you don't know how much time you have left in this world, right? So I figured if I don't do this and immerse myself for a period of time, so I'm giving myself 6 months to just fully immerse and create things, then I'm going to regret it, because I could go blind, I could go deaf, I could lose my fingers. I've been watching The Good Doctor a lot, so tragedies happen. So yeah, I'm going to do that for a little while, and then also something that I'm really looking forward to this year is my fiance and I are going to get married in the first part of the year as well. So very excited about that. Can't wait. I will be Ellery Crichton when that all comes around. So yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that is going to be very, very important for me this year is living in alignment, with what's really important and having a different lifestyle, because otherwise, what is the point, right? If you can't live a life that you want.
Yeah, Ellery, thank you so much for that. And it really is. I had a brain hemorrhage when I was 25, and the success rate of those without some kind of horrible after effect is fairly small, and that just set me on my way to just go, oh God, you're only on this planet once, and goodness knows when you're going to be hit by some black swan moment. The only thing that I hate to kind of just give advice where it's not maybe being asked for, but just creating great, but just try and whether it be online or whatever, just try and meet up with other musicians and people who are making music, and just get your face and your name out there within the community. It doesn't mean go and be famous and get yourself on a billboard. Just it's a very small world, and it's remarkable how easy it is to the number of times I'll go and chat with someone who's a big composer, and we will go, oh yeah, I know that person, and it'll be a person that maybe I've seen online or at a seminar, and so that's just something that I would really encourage doing as well to move things along. Don't be a legend in your own living room, but you are a legend for doing that, and also congratulations on your upcoming nuptials, which is fantastic news. Well done.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all the advice.
Oh, it's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. Les, back to you.
Hi, I wanted to actually put something out there. It's an idea that's been floating around. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and you reminded me about mentioning your new TV with surround sound. We were looking at some various surround sound tracks that people were making. More people are playing around with it now, but there's so few places where you can play it back, unless you happen to have a great surround sound thing at home. So luckily, locally, there's a little project called Harmony that's been floating around for a while. They've now got a new venue for the next year, and we were going to put in a small surround sound system, and I acquired a Denon 7.1 100-watt per channel all-round amp. We're going to use that as the basis and have this as a place where people can come and just play their tracks back. But I wonder, on a larger scale, is it worth approaching, or some of us talking to small independent cinemas, where they maybe have an hour or so once a week, once a month, where people could do immersive things, like some of the stuff Chris Watson did on his sound recording of Natural World and things like that. And he's played them back at various things. I know he's done quite a lot of surround, but so many other people are. But it's having the venues to produce it, unless it's in a film. They're not really there, are they?
No.
So what could we do to improve that, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I personally think there's going to be a huge renaissance in cinema because we do have the capabilities of making stuff that can be shown. You just give them a file, shown or heard. And I think that they're absolutely chuffing for things to exhibit and not just waiting every 6 weeks for that big Marvel universe thing to come in. And I can see certainly from my kids and talking to a lot of people that, online and stuff, people just going, cinema's fantastic. It's a great escape. So I think it's a great idea. And that might be something that we could it would be interesting, because there are a bunch of independent cinemas here in Edinburgh. And it might be interesting to do something like that, to go and actually have a look at the tech that's involved in throwing something on a screen and the surround sound and this magic number 7, something that you guys, if you haven't looked at, should Google, is the letter that James Cameron wrote to all of the cinemas on how to project the latest Avatar, and particularly with attention to sound, and him asking them to play it at 7 and promising them that it's not too loud. He's done it. He's designed it to be played at 7 in all cinemas, and he's been around the block. So yeah, it's a single page letter of thanks to exhibitors and how to go about exhibiting Avatar. David, I'll come to you in a sec, but I was going to skip forward to Mandy, because it's just good to have a mixture of voices of different frequencies.
I finally decided to talk. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Mandy.
Hi. Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just thank you, everyone, because for me, this has really taught me a lot about the technology. And so my goals for this year are continuing to try to learn a software. So I've tried Logic Pro, and Jay was awesome. He's helped me with that. And I'm trying Ableton Live, but now I'll kind of look at Reaper. And so I guess for me, trying to do the technology part is my biggest hurdle, but I've really learned from this about miking things. And so a goal of mine is to get some of those mics so I can mic my piano inside, or mic different things, and then use that to put into the to mixing things. So my goals are just the technology piece and trying to get that, more. But I appreciate everybody's. I learned so much every week, and I really appreciate all of the help.
Thanks, Mandy. And SM57 all the way. You'll use it for the rest of your life. It's a good starting point. David, good to see you.
Good to see you too. But I'm not going to be tone deaf to your request. In the tradition of pantomime, I'll have the leading man playing the leading lady. Sorry, I couldn't resist. You started at the beginning by saying a phrase or an expression that might have impacted how you think about things, or did I get that right?
Yeah.
That was one of the. There's a couple that are very similar. The late Russell Malone. Well, the last time I talked to him before he passed, I thanked him for how encouraging he had been to a lot of not just younger musicians, but there was one guitar player who was a huge fan of Russell's, and he suddenly wasn't able to play because of hand issues. And Russell reached out to him. He'd never met him, and the guy just was floored by it. So I was just trying to do a human thing and thanking him for being a good human being. And he told me when he was in Jimmy Smith's band, when he was very young, that he couldn't remember who, he said one of the old timers playing horns said to him, "A candle loses nothing when it lights another candle." And a similar thing to that was a quote that I wrote down so I wouldn't forget it, was society grows, excuse me reading it, society grows when good people plant trees for shade they will never sit in. So now I jumped on really because I'm going to be at NAMM this year for the first time in 2 decades. I'm arriving in on the Thursday, and my initial reason for going is one of my heroes. He doesn't fly anymore, but I'm blessed to have gotten to know him, and I was going out originally just to catch up with him. And George Benson, great jazz guitar player who had much success as a vocalist, and that's my initial reason for going. But Saturday, I'm told, is a big day there, and it's years since I've been there, but so I'll be definitely hanging around there. And then Sunday we're going into is it Nightbird Studios to look around, the one that's in the basement.
Yeah. Of the Sunset Marquee Hotel.
If you're doing something, I'd love to. Yeah, that's the one. The Sunset. Yeah. If you are doing some breakfast or something somewhere, I'll be at the Marriott in Anaheim. Is it? Yeah, the Marriott. So
yeah.
How would we know where? Are you going to put something up?
Yeah, I'll talk about it on this. We'll put it on social media, and we'll do some emails as well. So if you're on subscribed to any of those, I need to get an idea of numbers and what day's the best for people. Yeah, Saturday's a busy day at NAMM. I'd advise getting there early, and I genuinely would take some earplugs. Just not really to protect your ears, just to protect your sanity. What I've found genuinely, and I think it's probably my age, but I go in there and I just have to get the fuck out. And the problem is, because there's all bands playing outside Anaheim as well, it's like you literally have to escape. So that's something I would definitely recommend. But yeah, I'll keep you in touch on that, David. And amazing that George Benson. I mean, and he did some, there's amazing pop tracks that he did with Quincy Jones were just like phenomenal, absolutely amazing.
I can tell you one story.
Oh, yes, please. Oh, no. Just one sec. Can you unmute? Sorry, something. David, sorry. Thank you, mate. Yeah, you're back.
No? Sorry, I don't know how that muted. Sorry. No, one story that I could possibly... Celino Clark, Hammond organ player. This is how I got to know George. I was playing in Celino's band, and he was George's best friend before he passed. And he told me that when Sinatra did his, ironically, "L.A. is My Lady" was the name of the album, but there was the New York sessions that were done in that. And George is on guitar. You see video of this where he's playing a great solo on "After You've Gone," and I think his headphones were put in such a way it wouldn't mess up the hair. So they were kind of sideways. But Celino walked in, saw the chart in front of George and said, "What are you doing with music in front of you? You can't read." And he went, "Shh, Quincy doesn't know." So now George could probably slave through it slowly, but he's not a sight reader by any stretch. He told me that himself, nor am I, for that matter. But he apparently Michael Brecker would play George's lines for him, and he'd pick it up by ear like that. And I love these stories about how people get around. It looks like they're sight reading, but they're not. And it happens more often than people would like to admit. But these sudden delays where equipment goes down is actually buying time for someone to have a look at the part.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Yeah, I saw an interview with Jimmy Page recently, and he said he couldn't read music, and it's like he must have blagged his way around that session circuit in London, because he was like first call for that stuff. So that's always good to hear. We've got loads of people with their hands up, so let's skip through. Jeremiah, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Yeah, no, it's a new year, and I don't feel any differently. No, I think I think because I started my like New Year trajectory a little earlier. A couple months ago, I started to reach out to just like local, like I'm in Vancouver, BC, and I don't know if anyone here knows much about it, but there's really a lot going on, like major film industry, major music industry, city. And I've been here for a long time. My whole life I've lived in the Lower Mainland, and I I've worked with some people that I would say are notable, and I've, just had conversations with others, and some people are very successful that I'm like adjacent with and whatever. But like I've never, I think, really put myself out there independently to connect with individuals that are somewhere and they make a living off of their art, beyond what I would connect with them after a show or something, because I've played a lot of shows. So a few months ago, I connected with a local pedal company, and turns out one guy runs it all. It's like he makes incredible analog pedals, and I heard about his story. We had a beer, and it was just a wonderful time, and I felt a little more a part of the community through that alone. Just you don't feel as alone when you're talking to somebody, I think. And next to that, I kind of said, I'm on this kind of journey with myself, figuring out how do I do what I want to do in this wide realm that we're exploring in production or composition, whatever you like. And how do you make it natural? How do you make it day to day? I'm probably riffing here a little too much, but he connected me with a studio that I've known about for a long time here, and a couple other people as well, and other little smaller studios. And he's like, just like send them a message, just like you did to me, and they'll probably be happy to chat with you. And lo and behold, the larger studio of the bunch, who, by the way, despite AI, had their busiest year ever, they were happy to chat. And I've sent stuff there for mastering before, so that was already a good little connection. But the guy, one of the guys who runs it, he was like, yeah, I've been doing this for like 25 years here, and I'm slowing down a little bit, but like I've got a few people that intern here and there, and like I've got a good vibe. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how you fare and like how you like it here. And it's not a job, but I got a day booked in February with him that we're going to be doing some bed tracks with a kind of a post-hardcore band, which is fun. And I'm going to be like sitting behind his, I think, 48-channel Neve console, which I'm absolutely terrified. And I think that the whole goal of this is that like I need to be really outside my comfort zone, because I know so little, even though sometimes I feel like I'm on the right track. And I need to listen, and I need to be really access my extrovert to get anywhere. And that's freaky, because I don't want to deal with that console at all. But I think it's going to be a really good place to stretch my legs, which is exciting. So that's my kind of next year goals, is stretch my legs.
Great stuff, Jeremiah. Yeah, I think it's probably one of the reasons why I've wanted to give up Logic. I've found by using like these art programs, because I've been doing the web design and the GUI design and stuff, that stretching of legs can just apply in many different aspects, certainly like with technology and stuff. And I think going back to what I've said about like music education in schools and stuff is, learning a musical instrument is a real leg stretch. And what that does to kind of your problem solving in your own head and all of that kind of stuff is so vital for brain development and stuff. Mark Taylor, you're up next. How are you, sir? As ever, enjoying your social media, and you seem to be really cracking on with your sounds, which is great.
Yeah, I'm doing very good, actually. I'm not even kidding, right? I'm going to turn on my camera really quick, and I'm going to show you what I've got, because I do actually have...
we thought you were going to show us your face.
No. No, that's not until I can probably get my hands on like a face mask or what have you.
If
but I've got a
anyone's
kalimba.
wondering who's going to be the next James Bond,
See, here's the thing, right? The issue with the thing I have with this kalimba, I have to hold it in such a way, otherwise it actually, I'm not even kidding, there's like a reflection that comes through and it shows my face, and it's like, oh, yeah, no, absolutely not. But there you go, kalimba. Been basically pissing around with this. I actually one of the things I tried to do with this is I tried to record it like 3 times to make it into like an ensemble kind of sound, because I'm a fucking nutter. And I'm not even kidding. I was baffled because it didn't really have much effect. It just sounded like one sound, just amplified. So that was fun. So yeah, that's that.
brilliant. Move the mics around. If you're going to do it as an ensemble, move the mics around.
Yeah, I might have to experiment with my phone mic there. I actually came up with I actually somehow managed to come up with my own articulation with this thing, and I don't know if it's going to pick up on the mic, but I came up with like this weird tremolo sound, and all I'm doing is just like, is that picking up?
No.
Oh well. You'll just have to wait till it comes out. It's a very interesting sound.
There's something lovely about tremolos, of just that they're a way of making sustained sounds out of sounds that don't sustain. And again, if I just had a little piece of advice, Mark, try recording that tremolo. I didn't hear it, to be fair, but try recording it really slowly, like dum da dum ba da da da. Because when you put it all together on a keyboard and you're playing loads of notes simultaneously, it'll create this lovely patterner. The problem with going tremolo too fast, it suddenly becomes insanely intense, and it'll just become like a bunch of sine waves. So try a very slow tremolando sound. So, but I didn't hear what you were doing, so it might be off topic of what you were suggesting. Jay, over to you.
I'm just gonna go back to Mark real quick. You know, if you study marimba music, it's huge here in Guatemala because that's our national instrument. That's basically how they sustain notes, because, well, you know, a marimba is like a very short note. But yeah, that's very, very standard marimba practice to do long things, to treat it like a piano, just like a tremolo type of things. And yes, it gets loud. I lost track of what we were talking about. Oh wait, yeah, I had notebooks. I have a bunch of notebooks. I had a phrase that I saw. I think it's from Leila Hormozi video that I was watching randomly. But I think I want to share this with you guys because it's thinking about all this. You know, about Ellery going full on creative mode, and I think this is something that has helped me, because back in 2019 when I came back here, I hated it with a passion, and I was depressed and stuff, and I got a job at a call center, and I hated it because I swore to God I would never, ever do that in my life. And then I did for like 4 years. But this past year, 2025, I was just realizing that I paid my rent making music and audio and things for almost all year.
That's a massive achievement.
I didn't like, I ran my numbers. I didn't make it like that much money, but I paid my rent. Like, that's already huge. It's ridiculous. So 2026 goal is do that again, but double it. And for Hillary, yeah, just go crazy. Like, office jobs are horrible, but there's this thing that I found, and it says, oftentimes we let people who have given up on their dreams interfere with us achieving ours.
Yeah.
And it's been floating there. This notebook has a bunch of stuff like that. Another thing that I'm aiming at is finally getting my piano. I have a piano that I definitely have to sample, and I definitely have to tell a story eventually, because it was my mom's, and I need to put it in a corner in my apartment. But it's a real piano, so it's, you know, moving that is a thing. But what I wanted to do with that is going back to what you were talking Christian. It's like I want the piano to be in my living room because I want my friends to come over and it's like, oh, we can just play something here. Because that's something I used to do when I lived with my best friend. She's a piano player, and we would just set up in the living room this like my monitors and the computer and a big MIDI keyboard, and we just play just because we didn't have anything to do. We didn't have furniture, but we had a piano and a MIDI keyboard and a coffee table, and it really, yeah, I think playing with people, it's been big. I went down a rabbit hole of consoles, like mixing consoles, because like, what if I could, mix everything without the computer? And I've been thinking about it. Reaper is, speaking of Reaper, by the way, Christian, you might want to look into all the scripting that you can do with it, because it can do so many batching. In games industry is like the thing.
That's interesting.
I should learn how to use it. But yeah, it's the software for games, because it has a lot of automation with middleware, and it's very gamey.
Great
stuff. But yeah, definitely, I can send you some stuff if you want. And speaking of, hanging out with friends, I have a pitch for you guys. Christian, we've been talking about this with Mandy for a long time. And I haven't been here to mention it, but we were thinking about a place where it was just open for everybody to hang out. We have this thing once a week, but we're thinking like, what if there was like an opener place where we could chat like this? And me and Maddie decided that maybe an unofficial Discord with just like a voice channel where we can all jump in. And I already set it up, if that's okay.
Of course. No, that's fabulous. Give us all the deets, and we'll make sure it's loud, and if that's what you want, on the Crow Hill stuff, and we can put it in emails and all of that stuff. That sounds like a wonderful idea, Jay, and I thank you very much.
We just wanted a place where we could be like, okay, for example, like my idea was like, I'm gonna be here on the first Friday of the month, and I'm gonna be here all day, and people can come and go and do whatever.
Brilliant.
Talk. And so we landed on that.
Great.
And yeah, I'll send the link here.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. That's brilliant. And great advice, particularly that saying about people who have given up. Again, going back to Rick Beato, he's just done a YouTube about just that, and some amazing stats, like 40% of people who start YouTube channels don't get past the 8th episode, and then it just ramps off and disappears. So something I've often said is it's a bit of a war of attrition, but also we've got to get our 10,000 hours in for the different things that we do. Right, there's two more people with their hands up, so I'll get to them. Adam, it was a real pleasure to meet you on the Composer Walk. Thank you for coming up.
It was brilliant meeting everyone. It was, that was an excellent way of meeting these unusual online friends. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was lovely to see you. And any thoughts for 2026?
I'm going to jump straight in with what Jay's just been saying then. If you're going to put a Discord together, could you have it so you've got like towns or areas in the Discord? So then you've got your main group, and then people could start to link up closer to each other, and then that might build local little networks, which might be really handy for us loners. 2026, I've got two little things that I try and live by, or one that I live by and the other one that I heard last year that I thought was really nice. How to eat an elephant. I think I've said this one before, one bite at a time. I think that helps me with so many problems that I face. Like, I just need to break it down, and then once I broke it down, tick it off, get through it, next bit. And then another one, which is a bit somber, but graveyards are full of irreplaceable people. And it's just something that I heard last year, and it's just stuck with me. Like, don't go thinking that you've got forever. Just get what you can out of it, enjoy it. You got one lap. But yeah, next year, no resolution. Just I've got to try and do 90. That's I've got one. I met Anthony on the walk. Lovely guy. He basically, and I think you were saying it as well, that I should do some sort of social media and just do shorts. I'll probably do 90 seconds up the crane, how not to program music for video games. And I think it'll allow me to think more about what I'm doing while I'm up the crane. And then when I do get back in front of my computer and keyboard, I'm raring to go at it. And two, build a local posse like yourself, because I'm very envious of, I mean, there's people from Texas, from Italy, all over come to gather up. And thank you. I never got to say thank you very much for my drink.
That's all right, mate. Well, yeah. When I started the YouTube channel, I said to the person who suggested it, I don't have any time to do it. And he goes, is there not something that, could you not do it whilst doing something else? And it was walking the dogs. And that's how the YouTube channel started. So, yeah, how not to program music and how not to operate cranes. YouTubing whilst dropping a skip on someone. Sorry. And yeah, our last contributor with a hand up is fantastic Charles. It's lovely to see you.
Happy New Year, crew.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
First of all, I want to address Ellery. Congratulations on getting married. We just had our 51st anniversary yesterday.
Wow.
New Year's Eve, which reminds me, it just occurred to me when we got married. I married a woman who was a widow. She was a young widow, and she came with 2 kids. And so the youngest, who was, well, she'll be 57 this year, but she was 6 or something. So I was the new daddy. So she said, Daddy, why did you marry Mommy on New Year's Eve? And I said, I needed the tax deduction. And this, anyway, 2 sayings that I've been swapping sayings with a local composer. The guy's a very good choral guy. He said, put on your own oxygen mask first. You are no good to anyone if you pass out on the floor, which I like. My saying is, if no one is bleeding, it's not a problem. And so I don't go frantic when there's an issue, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Goal-wise, I want to write a couple of albums this year. I like to write sort of jazz-oriented, very noirish, dark stuff. I think I told you I already have one album that I did for Megatrax is along that line, but this stuff is going to be a little bit different. And it will include some of your stuff, Christian, some of your wonderful things from Crow Hill. And the last item is, I think we'll probably be at NAMM too. So we'll try to arrange a rendezvous. We have people that we stay with down there, and I just take an Uber over to the show, because I used to drive down there when we lived in LA, and it was, my God, what a mess.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Uber. And so do you know where you're going to stay at this point?
I'll probably stay in Santa Monica, but we'll organise something near to the conference centre. And maybe you can take a trip in a Waymo, Charles. Controversial. So fantastic. Very briefly, Alan, any New Year's resolutions, any sayings you can think of?
I'll get to the New Year's resolutions in a second.
Yeah.
Ellery, I left my job about 1.5 years ago. This is my first year not being in education since I was about 5 years old. I've either been a student or a teacher. Best thing I ever did was leave that job. I've not regretted it ever since. Sayings, it's Oscar Wilde. It's like, be yourself, everybody else is taken.
Yeah.
I think that's a great one. I think we look at people on social media, we look at people on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and we want to be them. And actually, it's a fake life. I think just be yourself. That's the best one. New Year's resolutions, none of mine are musical. I'm not a very New Year's kind of resolution person, but I want to cook more. I'm a decent cook. I just don't cook enough. So that's one thing. And then the other one is I want to learn to swim properly. Like, we've had this kind of, I've told you this before. I don't drown if I go in a pool, but I can't swim that well. And I'd like to really just swim a lot better.
Let's become resolution buddies. If you learn to swim well, I'll learn to drive.
Right, deal.
There you go.
Deal.
I'm going to end on just a couple of thoughts. You know, it's this thing of a new year is coming, and there's a couple of little rabbit holes that I've been down. The first of which is recent studies have shown that the mortality of people who spend a lot of their time isolated is greatly reduced, equivalent to smoking 40 cigarettes a day. It can take 15 years off your life. We are not designed to be isolates. No matter how much you think you like time on your own, it raises your blood pressure and your stress levels because we're mammals and we're designed to be with other people. And I think if you need an excuse to go out and work with musicians, to collaborate, to be part of a community, that should be it. Or take up smoking. The other thing that I wanted to say, and this is a really interesting one, but I think it's a really important thing, and this is, for me, I hope what we're trying to solve for many people with Crow Hill, is there was a concept that came about a couple of thousand years ago, and they didn't have a word for it. And it was a concept that needed a word that was the absolute worst word that you can imagine. And it was the Hebrew for adversary. Because in those days, if you had someone in these small communities who was blocking your progress or being an adversary or being, someone who fomented doubt within a group of people, it would spell apocalypse for that group of people. So this word was the worst word you could think of for this new concept. And that Hebrew word is Satan. So I think to be very, very conscious of surrounding yourself with people who support what you believe in. I think that a saying that I like as well is don't aim for who you want to be, aim for what you want to do. And I have no doubt, Ellery, and you've set a great example for everyone, that you will, beyond those 6 months, find a way of enabling what you want to do, not necessarily who you want to be. And I'm going to end on my favourite saying of all time, and that is, sweet words, butter no parsnips. I haven't got a fucking clue what it means, and I hate parsnips. I'll let you draw your own conclusions. Lots of love and see you next week. Bye-bye.
If you feel like you are